All right, everyone, Happy New Year. We're meeting for Amelia Makashi. Today is January 9th, 2023. So introductions, I'm Holly Bitcon, Resource Specialist.
Taylor Gregory, 5th grade teacher.
Aura Asan, Program Supervisor.
Dwight Pratt, Principal.
Kayla Makashi, Mom.
Okay, and you have a copy of your procedural safeguards there for you. The purpose of our meeting is a parent request to discuss the request for Central Auditory Processing Disorder evaluation. We're going to meet from now until about 3 o'clock with a hard stop at 3 o'clock because
Absolutely.
Aura and I have another meeting.
I have to get back home.
Okay. Before the rain comes. Okay. What are your concerns regarding Amelia's central auditory processing?
Well, it's basically truly based upon the assessments, the evaluations, both by the district and by Dr. Davis in regards to inconclusiveness related to how Amelia processes information, and it's been recommended that she be considered for cognitive auditory processing. I would also say that based upon the research, there's a strong genetic component, and I know I have not officially been diagnosed, but there's similar challenges that I see my daughter who is facing as a child. I've faced as formerly a student and as an adult. And it really is just to further determine maybe potentially other underpinnings of issues that she may be dealing with. Really trying to figure out, I feel like there's unmasking, like peeling out the onion in regards to some of her difficulties and inconsistencies based upon, I guess I wasn't really clear on that I had to provide, but I mean, like if I pull up the IEP data tests, there's a lot of inconclusive items related to auditory processing. So really would like to get that further investigated.
That's fair.
Do you need more data points?
I don't think so. I think we just need to document.
Are you just
your
needing
request.
the documentation of my why for that?
Your why, and then what would we do with the information? So how would it help us enhance her plan? How do you foresee it enhancing her plan?
Absolutely. I think it is going to highly connect with some of the already current findings with Amelia, with her inattention. Officially based upon the diagnosis with Dr. Davis related to the inattention, as well as her written expression and issues and how she's trying to decode, put that information in writing, and really truly with her executive functioning issues that have been identified in those findings as well, that, the way she processes information, how she organizes that, she has a very difficult time with that. And, even based upon the past report card for trimester 1 related to her, writing skills, there's still some discrepancies and gaps.
So are we thinking this would enhance accommodations, this would enhance services, delivery?
Well, I think it falls under all of it. It's going to impact it really. Really, the biggest question is why is she having mixed results with her performance, right? There's inconsistencies.
I'm just thinking how to rate things. That's conditions.
So, and how it reflects out in terms of her work, right? It's like if she's being told to do something, she has a very difficult time to chunk it, to break it down, and to execute. And in terms of her actual writing aspect, the fact that she cannot, those challenges with her, especially on spelling, for example, and how she's trying to put this information down, what registers in her brain, what being told to her. Just yesterday, she pieces information back together. She may not even necessarily hear the entire conversation. So I'm concerned that she's not actually catching all the information. We were in the car driving back from roller skating, and I was talking to my son who was in the front seat, and we were talking about getting finished with his sandwich. And she thought it was like something completely, she put it into completely different context of like, oh, you mean you finished already? And she was on a different subject. And so she didn't even catch what we were talking about, and she pieced it together incorrectly. And that was just yesterday. Sometimes she guesses conversations about what we're talking about, and she'll make assumptions if she's not fully in tune listening to what the conversation as a group is, and she'll kind of chunk it. I don't know if you've observed that in class, but I'm observing it at home.
Okay.
Thinking more like in class would be like if there's like 7 steps.
Yeah,
She
that's
hears
kind
maybe she
3 of it, and then it so yeah, there's a breakdown somewhere. And like I said, that's where I'm seeing it, where I really personally think, just was speaking with an educational researcher, and she was saying there's a strong connection between children who have problems with executive functioning. They also have this cognitive auditory processing. There's a lot of research that connects the two, which I didn't know. And I was just talking to that person an hour ago. So can you maybe explain this process? I like defend the case, and then the district, you come back to.
No. The team
I'm just trying to
decides.
understand this.
So when you make a request, we have 15 days, excluding any breaks over 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a timing thing of when you made the request that it was delayed response. Is the IEP team that needs to come back and, come to a consensus, basically.
Yeah, because I can come
Yeah.
back and or email and send like pulling.
It's
I'm
not
just
that.
making sure. I
The
want to
team-
make sure
the
if
team
I
has
need
to come to a
pull up.
consensus. So of whether this, this extra testing would yield beneficial results and enhance the plan for Amelia. That's basically it. Sometimes there's not consensus. Sometimes we have to agree to disagree, type of thing.
Okay.
But now it's your old turn. I'm just writing down notes.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm because it's been
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah, no. It's been a while because we had the break. Otherwise,
but I
it would have
mean,
been
like,
15 days.
Previous to other requests that I've made, so I was just trying to confirm I understand the process.
Yeah. No, that's it.
Who does this evaluation?
It's an audiologist.
Right. So
And that's why I was trying to also confirm, does the district use their preferred audiologist, or do I defer or refer her to an audiologist?
So no, we
with my-
contract. No, we have people that we contract
Okay,
with.
okay, that's what I thought.
Because we also want somebody. I run into this a lot with my husband. You want somebody that has contextual knowledge of a school setting.
Okay, perfect.
So there's tons of
It's a
audiologists.
school audiologist, right?
Right. Very
Yeah.
few understand like the expectations and the environment associated with the school. So we don't want her to go through all this testing and then we get some stuff back that's like really based on a clinical model.
Right.
So that's why we are like, we grant it, yes, but we need somebody with that level of experience. Otherwise it's just wasted time, to be
Do
honest.
either of you know how long or how impactful this could be on Amelia? Like, is it like, 18 hours worth? Is it an hour?
That I don't know.
I'm not as concerned about that, and I will tell you. I mean, this is a side note. My mother is an audiologist, and so she was the one also that was bringing it to my attention as well. But she is not an
If it's during the,
educational audiologist.
if it's during the school day, I would definitely have a little bit of a concern, just because I already know her schedule right now, and it's getting pretty,
Well, if you need
I
authorization
don't
from
know.
me to like pull her one time from music or something of that sort, I know I can give that permission.
Oh
Sure.
yeah, oh
Right,
yeah.
'cause-
That's not even it.
It's just if there's like, oh, I need
I
her.
don't
I
think
need,
it's as involved as like the initial testing, just because there's only
Okay.
one person doing it rather than like
Mhm.
3
Okay.
people.
Okay.
I do know that like there has to be a certain setting for it. Like you can't. It has to be soundproof and there's equipment and la la la, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because audiologists work in soundproof.
Right, exactly. So we couldn't like use the conference room.
No, you can't hear all that. So you don't-
Right.
yeah,
So
okay.
I know
It might
that
be
part.
an out thing, right? I might have to take her somewhere.
Oh, I think you do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's just when, what I was saying is when somebody gets the results, I need them to think in context of how this would help her, how this information would help at school,
Yeah.
not like, oh, therapy with something in
No,
a
see,
clinic.
in the
And so that's why I was bringing up the point, like the person has to have that background in a school setting.
Right.
Yeah.
see,
But-
and I think there's also a tie of like if she's inattentive, you know, is it because she's having a hard time processing information that's been
Yeah.
being delivered to her
Yeah.
orally, and she's not comprehending all those steps, then she gets lost because of her executive functioning deficiencies of, well, I don't even know where to start. Kind of thing. And so that's kind of like where I'm seeing it.
yeah.
What recommendations typically come from the this kind of evaluation, the auditory that we would see? Like I'm just
That
we
would
don't-
be different. That like the
that's
service would be
than what-
different.
Yeah, like do you up minutes? Do you now see our psychologist? Do you like how what kind of accommodations get made in the classroom? Like
Let me look.
I just curious
what
of
she
what
has.
the
It really
if you go through with
depends.
this process, like what is a benefit for her in the classroom? Like
I
would
guess
we,
what
would we
so I
see?
mean I don't think that's the purpose of this conversation in
Okay.
terms of like what are the benefits. It's really more of like we know that Amelia has some challenges in the classroom and how she's performing and the discrepancies, and so if she has I think it's really more that, I mean, I hate to repeat the word, but it's cognitive, right? So how is she processing that information, taking it in and executing out for what she's being asked to do?
Okay.
So, I mean, that's the root issue that we're trying to find. It's not the purpose of this conversation to say, okay, well then what are the accommodations or how is that going
Okay.
that would
Yeah,
be a
we won't
separate,
know that
because we would
part.
because the evaluator is going to give those recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Usually it is accommodations and service delivery is usually the things that they have input on.
And that's probably where it's going to help her, because it's like based upon like, you know, if she like think about what's helping her right now when you break out those math tasks and breaking that down,
Right.
could be something, you know, very easily to blend in with that.
Yeah.
I'm really concerned really more of like where's the breakdown for what she's being asked to do and where she's struggling. And so I think really there's some connections there. I mean, and that was originally why it's been multiple recommendations saying, hey, make sure you look into this, as well as, you know, I am, you know, separate conversation, but like actually looking clinically, does she have ADHD, right? Because I have not pursued that as of yet. So it's not the purpose of this conversation today, but it's like, we know for sure that it's taking her, you know, and when Dr. Davis already identified that as well, average, if it takes one student 20 minutes, it'll take Amelia 40 minutes or a different timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, you would agree with that, correct? In terms of her,
On average.
yeah.
And sometimes they recommend different types of FM systems.
Mm-hmm.
So not just like the red cat, which is like a sound enhancer,
Right.
an FM system that goes directly to their ear.
I have seen that before.
And
yes.
there's
I mean,
different
right.
kinds of them. So it depends, but that's another example of things that
Okay.
I've seen them recommend.
Okay.
So people.
That's why I thought we were doing pros and cons and things.
We
like
are,
that. Okay.
yeah. So,
That's what you normally do, is talk about the cons?
yeah,
Because how it could impact her. Like you just gotta look at both sides. There could be 20
it's
pros
for
and-
all of them.
Yeah.
It's even on the IEP paperwork right above the services. It's potential harmful effects is what they call them.
For the evaluation?
We have to do it for all of them. Any request, any service, any placement, you're supposed to talk about the pros and cons. Yeah.
Okay, well, so we didn't do that with the original IEP, so I wouldn't know that. This is what my point is.
Yeah. Well, I think all we have for cons I see is missing instructional time in general education classrooms. So we just didn't go very far into it.
I think I remember going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We didn't dive into
It's
much.
Yeah.
it's on here. It's just we don't have that many. I guess everybody was in agreement. All
We
right.
were. So,
Do you guys openly have any concerns about this request?
I said mine. Mine was just I didn't know if it was like a long something that is going to take up a lot of her time being pulled out of class. That's all, and that's a con for any testing we
Yeah,
do.
I
Even
understand.
so, yeah,
That's a fair concern.
yeah.
And I'm, as a parent, I'd be willing, like I said,
Hey,
I know when
Dr.
the,
Bird. I don't know if you guys met yet. Our school psychologist.
Hi.
oh, great, nice
Yeah.
to meet you.
No, not, okay, they told me it was the wrong meeting, sorry.
Oh.
Is this the wrong one?
I
Why
don't
for
know
me?
why she's
Okay.
here, but it's so nice to see you, Dr.
Amelia or no?
No, you're not in this meeting.
Are
Okay,
you in the one for 3?
maybe.
Oh.
Okay, so not Amelia's meeting yet.
No.
Yeah, this
I thought
isn't
it was 3 and they said, oh, it's already started. I'm like,
No,
oh,
this
okay.
is
For a different
Amelia's-
Sorry.
No. This is, I mean,
Is
I
there
did.
another meal?
Here, close the door for a second. Dr.
Okay,
Bird
okay.
come in. It's actually perfect timing because I did kind of
Yeah.
talk to Dr. Bird about Amelia a little bit
Hi,
and
I'm Kelly.
Hi, I was gonna pop in and talk to you.
your
Yeah.
request for the central auditory processing.
Okay. I'll add her to the
Should we have a
introduction.
session?
Are you okay with her attend? Because she kind of reviewed the reports and
Sure.
everything, and
Okay.
you're probably better at explaining your findings based on
Okay.
that.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so it is the right meeting, okay. I thought it was at
okay.
3 and they're like, oh, no, it started. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't a formal invitation. It was we were just
We were in
talking
another meeting.
in passing.
And it
Yeah,
ended.
right.
Sorry.
So she's the school psychologist.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So I had messaged you, but it said you weren't in a meeting. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
meeting or not? So
Yeah.
did you get my message? Or
I did.
Okay.
I did. But
All right.
do you want to just oh, you print? Oh no.
Oh, I do have some stuff. So I was reviewing her different reports, all her different assessments, because she said that you were asking about a central auditory processing assessment, and she's actually had 4 different central auditory processing types of assessments that
Okay.
that feed into that. So she's had the CTOP, which was done by the education
yes.
IE report.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Hearts of the Nepsi with the
Correct. Which was
The psych.
inconclusive. Yeah, okay.
yeah, and then the TAPS, the test of auditory processing
Mm-hmm.
skills. That was done through the district, and all those were average, and then one had like a low average / below average.
Well, the
depending upon-
CTOP, see the CTOP, when you actually look at that though, she's very, very low in the rapid naming.
Yes, I
Which
wanted
is
to bring that up.
huge
Right.
issue.
So I looked deeper into that because I saw that too, and so rapid naming can be caused by a lot of things, not just when the IEE talked about it being a form of dyslexia, which it is, because not reading fluently is dyslexia. It's not fluent reading, so she's not able to rapidly say things. But she also, in the IEE report, it
With Dr.
said-
Davis, or the psychologist.
No, it was the education one. Not the psychologist, the
not
other
the
person.
The independent education evaluation.
that
with
one.
Dr. Davis is the one that did the evaluation. I'm just referring to his name.
Okay. They
Yeah.
did a test of.
There was 2.
There was 2.
One IE
Yeah,
and then one
he
Dr.
didn't do
Davis.
the academic portion. It was,
There was an
Andrea?
education.
I believe that's the name on it.
Mm-hmm.
Andrea.
It
Andrea.
was very short. They did a assessment about the eye movements, and it talked about her horizontal and vertical
Yes.
issues.
Oh.
That can cause the rapid naming being slower.
Correct.
because it's an ocular motor issue. So with her being able to fluently move her eyes left to right and up and down, that can cause challenges with naming things quickly, being able to stay on the line while you're reading, being able to go to the next line, you know, and not skip lines and stuff, and having to keep backtracking, like if you're reading, if your eyes don't move fluently left to right.
understand.
So that would be an explanation for the rapid naming. But she has all the sounds that she's hearing. You know, so she's able to take words apart, put them together, which is fantastic. The only thing that she had any issues with was, what was it? For 3-letter words, she could take words apart, put them together. When it was the 4-letter words, she was able to, she would have a problem. Sometimes she would add like an extra sound. So like, let me see, give an example. I'll just say pond.
Insertion?
Well, she was inserting an extra sound for herself. So she would say the word pond. This wasn't the word, but you know, for the example, pond. So she might go pond, you know, so she would say the sound for pond was the third sound instead of the second. You know, so it's on. And so she did that on a few different words. So a lot of kids will do that, but that doesn't affect their reading. It affects their spelling because you'll see them misspell things like that, but it doesn't affect their reading. So
That's what I'm concerned about, because she's having spelling deficits. But what I was explaining to the IEP team earlier before you came in was that Amelia does a lot of guessing about how conversations are going. So she'll not connect everything for what people are saying orally in the conversation. And I gave an example of, you know, she took certain information yesterday in a dialogue. We were driving from a roller rink with my son and daughter, and she pieced information together, making a conclusion about what we were talking about, and she was off base. She took like 2 words, like I can't remember, it was like just finished, and I was talking to my son about the sandwich, and she thought it was like just finished on something else. And so there was a disconnect there, and I've been observing it at home, like in the kitchen talking to her, and she was like guessing stuff from what her siblings were saying and Miss Q, and I was sharing that you know, like auditorially, I'm not sure if she's processing everything that's being absorbed in conversations, and so my concern is how is that affecting her with academics in the classroom.
Okay, because they did like lengthy things where they read to her and or said things to her and she had to repeat them back.
And and then this came up with the assistive technology assessment, where the assistive technology evaluator was saying that when people read aloud to her, she performs significantly lower. She cannot comprehend versus when she sees it and she's reading aloud to herself. And that we did discuss. Right. So that's, and I would have to go back home and go back and look at all those reports to pull out and do a little more research to be more clear about that. And so I can do that as a follow-up to today's meeting. That's where I'm coming from. Okay. And as prior to you coming in, once again, also there's a strong genetic component. I know for a fact, I haven't been officially evaluated, but I have some of those challenges. If other people are talking to me all at once in the kitchen, I cannot process. Right. If you ask me, if you tell me, if I ask for your phone number, I'll be like, text it to me, don't tell it to me. Oh, yeah. So I'm really concerned more about that, the auditory piece of it, and how it's, I understand what you're talking about, the eye thing too, but anyway, that's my take on it.
Okay. Well, the good news is she's doing well. At least on her assessments, she's demonstrating she's acquired the knowledge. You know,
well, actually, it's inconclusive. You're talking about her performance,
academically. She was average and above average.
In her last report card, if you want me to pull up her,
I was talking about the assessments that she had through the IEE and stuff. That's all I had time to look at.
The IEE, it's mixed. There are inconsistencies in the test, and Dr. Davis attributed to that and articulated that. I thought you started talking about academics.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No, the academic scores. I mean, she's
No,
very bright.
I know for a fact. I don't remember which test, but there was one test that the district did that did not match with his assessment. There was some inconclusive, and also he said it was scored differently. I don't remember the specifics, but there were some issues.
Yeah, I think the cognitive piece. I know that the IEE person, the psychologist,
Dr. Davis. Oh, the psychologist.
The psychologist did. Just shows that she's very, very smart in like her verbal area is it's like 123, which I think was 123. Which is above average. And then she has, some average skills, and then, and some higher average skills, and then one's at 90, which is still average. But and that's her math, the visual spatial kind of processing stuff. But it's still all average. It's just there's a disparity.
Disparity.
Thank you. Couldn't get that out. Disparity, because she is so bright in one area that to have the lower in another area could make it seem, more challenging. For her, like, oh my gosh, you're so bright. How can you have these things? But that's still average because she's still a bright girl. They did mention in what I skimmed through the whole like 4 reports right before I came here. They did mention attentional issues, that she does have some attention problems, and that could be part of her piecing stuff together, because some kids will fade in or fade out of conversations, and you don't even know that they faded out. They're not listening, and then they come back in and they're grabbing, trying to, oh, what did I miss? And they try to piece that together and make some sort of conclusion. So that could be happening as well.
Right, but I mean, like the example yesterday with my daughter, we were in engaged conversation. It wasn't like she was distracted. And so, like I said, what I'm observing is she is not, like I said, I've already said it like a couple times, but she is not necessarily comprehending everything that's being discussed in conversation. Maybe it's really more like one-on-one. I don't know if you've observed that in class.
I'm trying to keep the time because Holly and I do have something.
Does a decision need to be made today?
Yes. Basically, yes.
I'm fine with moving forward because it's more information on how Amelia learns, and maybe it will answer that question for us about how to better help her.
I agree. In terms of timing, I will sign any consent.
Yeah, no, it's
scheduling or because I know by like law she has to attend some I can't remember PE or whatever, but others she
No, I know. I just think that's we're and this is just me. I'm thinking of the kid. That's what I do. I think we're getting to a point where there's a lot of testing. Yeah. There's a lot, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm not saying that. I just want it to be known that I think it's becoming. I'm starting to think about how she's gonna start reacting to this. She's a smart girl. She's in 5th grade.
Her overall mental capacity is very strong, and my bigger concern is I would rather rule it out now before she gets into more complicated grades and as she gets older.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's where I'm actually kind of really driving from is my biggest concern. I'd rather rule it out and say, you know what?
Did you mention though that it sounded like there was at least 2 to 3 reports that kind of talked about some auditory things?
There's
that kind
4 different assessments she was given.
So is there going to be some?
This is
some
done by
overlapping though too?
Yeah, I would assume so. This is done by a trained audiologist, which, as I was sharing with them, my mother's an audiologist as well, not an education audiologist. She was referring some concerns as well. That's also really key in terms of.
But wouldn't that be?
They have very
assessment?
the audiologist has very trained, and Hassan was giving that their environment, the sound booth, and all that, the professional clinician standpoint.
It would. It's an MD person.
Yeah, it's a hearing assessment. It's a type of specialized. I've had them.
Right.
Actually.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not something we would be doing.
We would pay for it.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what, because that was my first question. I was like, do I send?
No, yeah, because that, I mean, it wouldn't do any good for me to like go to Kaiser and say I want that and then bring it back, and
Yeah. They
you
won't.
want something you can utilize.
Correct, I understand.
Okay, so you agree?
Do I have to vote? I'm still in the mix.
I
Sorry.
can
I was
see
on
the
the team
pros and
right
cons
now,
of both
but-
sides. Like
Yeah.
I think if the
I think
report
if-
came back
if
that
there's
Amelia
4
had to
reports,
wear
if-
something like a hearing aid, I don't think she would like
She wouldn't wear it.
being.
But it's not
But I
needed
don't
hearing
think
aid.
that's gonna
Well,
be
we don't.
defining.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what.
And
it
that's
is.
why I think I'm in the mix
Is it?
as well.
I
Like
mean,
I don't
is
know
it?
what
Is
the.
it quick? Is it quick? Is it? You know, if we already got.
Let's
if we-
ask the Google.
Well, if we already got
Yes.
if we already got the information in some of the 3 to 4 reports, and there's going to be
actually, I can tell
overlapping
you.
information,
I
then
So-
I don't understand.
Yeah. Okay, look, so the whole point of the formality of it is to actually have it identified, specific, not just blended in. I mean, if it's an offering, a service that is provided key to the audiologist.
1.5 to 3 hours,
Okay.
according to Gaulet University.
I've yelled it.
I guess what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say is I would,
Oh, and ASHA says it's 1.5 to 2 hours.
I will tell you from the bottom of my heart personally, like I said, I really want to do this to rule this out. But it's been pointed out multiple times in terms of some of the issues that there's discrepancies here.
Mhm.
She has discrepancies, and I'm trying to pinpoint what are the root causes to these discrepancies. That's really what it is. I want to rule it out.
And then if it is ruled out, are you going to go the route of possibly thinking about ADHD?
I think we need to discuss that
Oh,
separately.
I
I mean,
Well,
I guess my question is if for the ADHD, I could have the pediatrician do that evaluation outside, correct?
You can.
Or do I have to come back and request it here? Like,
Well,
maybe-
no,
we
part
already
of that
did
was
our
already
part.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already.
There isn't any more that. But the only time I've seen
She-
parents do it like another assessment is if they were looking at like cognitive behavior therapy, pharmaceutical help, that type of stuff.
my question's different. My question is, she's not clinically, medically identified as having ADHD. My impression is I have to go to my pediatrician.
Yes, that's
Correct?
Yeah,
accurate. If
you
you
do.
That
were-
was my question.
Yeah,
Yes.
it doesn't affect very much here though.
Right.
Well, it does for Amelia's IEP because she's identified with inattention.
But it's not we wouldn't change anything that we're doing because we've already identified that she has a weakness in attention.
But it's also good. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you did go the route of the pediatrician and they say, yes, she has ADHD and attentive type, then they could discuss whether pharmaceuticals may be appropriate or not for her, or if there's something else you could do. And like I said, attention, even if you're having this one-on-one conversation, she could be fading and you don't know. And inattention, girls specifically, they usually present with inattentive type. You don't usually see as many hyperactive girls, like crazy behaviors. That's typically boys. And so girls are more inattentive and you don't realize that they've just kind of faded out and you haven't heard it, and now they're trying to piece things together. Just like, oh crap, what did mom say? So that could be part of it too.
But see, that's why I'm thinking in my mind, like,
Right.
it,
Figure out which it is.
my oldest son was tested when he was 5, and it was like a 3-hour test with a psychologist, and it was a computer test, and he was identified with ADHD at age 5. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's how it was done. So I was under the impression, if she's already been identified with all of these tests in the school environment with inattention, it might just be good to confirm if it's not a difficult test with the pediatrician.
Yeah, typically they'll send out rating. Do you have Kaiser
it
by
does.
chance?
It's very
Do you have
similar.
Kaiser by chance?
My husband does.
It's very similar to what we already did.
Yeah, and
So
sometimes
that's
it's the
why
same
some
exact
parents
ones.
don't.
So you're saying it wouldn't even be necessary?
Not unless you wanted some services that the health insurance would provide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need
I know we have to
sit.
stop.
That's fine.